Hello there, Miss Flatbed Red here. Something a little bit different on the drawing board for this video. It's an 8x10 acrylic painting. As you can see, I started with the background, and for acrylic paintings, I tend to work back to front or in little sections, as I'm also doing here once I got that background blocked in. And I use Golden Open acrylic paints, which is something that dries a little bit slower than your average acrylic paints. I absolutely love them. They're super forgiving. They don't take as long to dry as normal oil paints, and they dry slower than normal acrylic paints. As you can see, I build up the paint layer by layer, and I'm using really small brushes. It's a small painting, and I wanted to make sure those details really came out, so I'm using itty-bitty brushes. I use ampersand boards to paint on, sometimes clay board, sometimes gesso board, whatever I end up having on hand at the time in the correct size. And I use a disposable palette rather than having to deal with cleaning off a normal palette all the time. Since it's acrylics, not oils, I can just throw away the layer or a piece of the paper layer that I was working with. Building up the layers is always a slow lead up to what looks really cool at the end when you get to add all the fine details and the highlights and the darker shadows and things. So building it up, building it up, building it up. As you can see here, reflections start to show through on the fenders, but the highlights are the coolest parts at the end that you get to add in. And again, the colors that you're looking at on a truck are not just like what you think you're looking at. Remember, metal reflects other things around it. So right now, yes, it's just like white and black, but I will add some other colors as I go to really make the metal shine and look like metal rather than just something gray and white. The grill is always the most frustrating thing. You see there, I just wiped it off. I had everything else completely dry before I even attempted this. So I wiped it off several times before I was happy with it. Just a lot of straight lines, keeping them parallel and the same thickness is really difficult. Even though they're slow drying, they still clog up the brush, and I had to clean it off and use fresh paint so often. Then adding the reflections and things on those teeny tiny lines too. Then I just spray varnished it, popped it in a frame, and sent it off to Indiana. Thank you all for watching, and have a great one.